Mr. Chair, could you use your microphone, please? Mr. Chair, Mr. Acting Chair, could you use your microphone, please?
I have to rely on it. Okay, yeah. It is 10:01 and I'm calling this meeting of the CVR Safe Committee to order. Madam Clerk, can you, well, let's first stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Lynette, could you please call the roll?
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for being here. Director Boomgarden,
Here.
Branscombe, Chapman,
Here.
Clarici,
Yo.
Early,
Here.
Jennings,
Here.
Jones,
Here.
Rickman,
Here.
Sander,
Here.
Singh, absent, Vice Chair Desmond,
Here.
Vice Chair Howdeshelt,
Here.
and Chair Lauren is absent, and ex officio member Aceves. Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. And do you need to read the public comments or the meeting procedures?
Thank you. This is the time where we would ask any directors to disclose any items where they have a conflict of interest under state law and acknowledge whether they will recuse themselves from that item.
Seeing none. Okay. So that will take us to item number 1.
And Vice Chair Desmond, just to let you know, we have no public communications also at this time.
Okay, thank you. That'll take us to item number 1, which is the consent item, just one item on consent. Minutes from the March 6th meeting.
Move the consent item.
Early second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions from directors? Seeing none. Any
Just
public
public
comment on
comment.
this item, Lynette?
There's no public comment.
Okay, and we'll have to do a roll call vote because Director Rickman is, and Howdeshelt are remote.
Thank you. Director Boomgarden,
Aye.
Branscombe,
Aye.
Chapman,
Aye.
Clarici,
Aye.
Early,
Aye.
Jennings,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Rickman,
Yes.
Sander,
Aye.
Singh, absent, Vice Chair Desmond,
Aye.
Vice Chair Howdeshelt,
Aye.
and Chair Lauren is absent. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. That'll take us to our first action item.
Thank you. That item is the final Capital Valley Regional Service Authority for Freeways and Expressways fiscal year 25-26 budget.
Good morning. Barbara Von Bechtold. I'm the program manager for the Capital Valley Regional Safe. And before you today, you have the final fiscal year 25-26 budget. A draft of this budget was released to the public after the May 29th board meeting, and at this time, we haven't received any comments. The final budget shown in attachment A that estimates costs for operations and maintenance of our core call box system, enhanced services, and our special projects. The CVR Safe bylaws required that a budget be approved before July 1st of each fiscal year. So we're asking that the CVR Safe Committee recommend to the board to adopt the final fiscal year 25-26 CVR Safe budget. And that, just a note, staff will continue monitoring vehicle registration trends because that's where the revenue for this program comes from, to see if any adjustments are needed to the budget as we go through the fiscal year coming. And I can answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Yes, Director Branscombe.
Without super careful study of the, go away, sorry. My apologies.
No worries.
It appears to me we're just getting rid of the call boxes. Is that what's happening?
I'll talk about that in the next item.
Oh,
So yes,
It's the budget.
well, the budget gives that appearance also. Okay.
yes, it does.
Okay, so that's what we're looking at is they're going to go away and the
Is-
funding is going to go where?
The different scenarios for removal, it would continue going to the other CVR Safe funded programs like Freeway Service Patrol, our Intelligent Transportation System efforts, and other TDM efforts throughout the CVR Safe region.
Thanks.
Thank you, Director Branscombe. Any other comments questions from directors? Any public comment on this item, Lynette?
There's no public comment.
Okay.
Vice Chair, move the item.
Okay, we have a motion from Vice Chair Howdeshelt,
Early seconds.
And a second from Director Early. Please call the roll.
Director Boomgarden,
Aye.
Branscombe,
Yes.
Chapman,
Aye.
Clarici,
Aye.
Early,
Aye.
Jennings,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Rickman,
Yes.
Sander,
Aye.
Singh, absent Vice Chair Desmond,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haudashelt,
Aye.
Chair Lauren is absent, and motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Item 3.
Okay, now on to what Director Branscombe was just talking about is a call box removal strategy scenario selection. So we had a recent cost increase that we brought to you late last year for call box maintenance. So we're bringing a recommendation to the CVR Safe Committee and Board to consider for call box removals starting in this coming fiscal year in 25-26 to address the fiscal sustainability of the CVR Safe program. So the item before you discusses the recommendation for the removal of call boxes, both roadside and trailside, to reduce or eliminate ongoing call box maintenance costs. We would maintain the 511 roadside assist that exists now, where people can call 511 toll-free and access roadside assistance services, including freeway service patrol, which is funded by the CVR Safe. And the CVR Safe really isn't alone in this consideration. Other safes throughout California are facing similar decisions related to their call box systems because of increasing maintenance costs. So we provided 4 scenarios. And we have scenario 1, which is the status quo, which would be to maintain the call box system just as it is now. We have scenario 2, which is we've called measured, where we'd remove all remaining urban and trail side call boxes in the very near future, and eventually remove all the call boxes as we go through time. And then the rural only option, which is similar to number 2, but would also remove some of the rural call boxes that are not in really isolated areas, leaving only those call boxes that are in the most rural areas. And the last scenario 4 is the accelerated, where we'd remove all remaining call boxes. The only exception would be 6 call boxes that are currently installed in the Forest Hill Bridge near Auburn. And those are crisis call boxes that are funded by Placer County, so the CVR Safe does not fund those call boxes. So there's a brief summary of these scenarios in your packet. It's on page 2 of the item. And it projects the difference in costs related to continued call box maintenance and the estimated financial position of the CVR Safe after 10 years. So we're trying to look all the way ahead to fiscal year 2035-36. And staff are recommending scenario number 4, which is the accelerated call box removal scenario, because it's really the only one that would allow the CVR Safe program to remain fiscally sustainable in the coming years. We're looking forward 10 years to maintain that fiscal sustainability.
Okay, thank you.
Do you remind me what 4 is? 4 is basically removing everything except 6.
Yes, except 6.
Question.
Yes.
Now, along the highways, everybody has cell phones and there's towers addressing
Mhm.
basically every highway. What about the trail side? Do they have, are they basically just cell phones in a box?
Actually, all of the call boxes are basically cell phones in a box, even the ones on the side of the highways are all actually cellular phones.
Do the trail side ones have a better antenna, or is
No, they're all exactly the same as the ones you would see on the roadside. They're,
basically the same thing you got in your pocket?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Director Branscombe. Any other comments or questions? I guess my question, Barbara, is, I mean, you're recommending option 4. I mean, what option do we really have?
And financially, there really isn't another good option. The way we've looked at it, the costs increasing, and we have to assume all the costs within the CVR Safe program are going to increase by some measure. Over time, we looked at our current contracts and the escalations we see every year, and if those carry forward as well, that it's just not sustainable with the revenue isn't growing.
Right.
That's one of the challenges. We've done projections looking out because the funds come for this program come from vehicle registration, that $1 that everyone who registers their vehicle pays in the 6 counties that make up the safe. And if we're only estimating about 50,000 more vehicles would come into that region annually, that's only 50,000 more dollars. And the growth in costs are beyond that on a yearly basis, that it's just not sustainable to continue.
I'll move the matter in line with staff recommendation.
Second.
A motion and a second. One other question for you. Other regions throughout the state, though, are they, I mean, I imagine most of them are taking the same action. Is anybody doing anything differently?
No, they really aren't doing anything differently throughout the state again, because those call box maintenance costs have gone up so much. And we'll talk about that in a minute with the call box contract.
I was just curious if others are maybe looking at, have identified other funding sources or they're doing something innovative. So,
I think Bakersfield did something radically different,
They did.
which was take these out,
Mhm.
this is years ago, decade ago or more, take those funds, start a homeless program. Got homeless people basically picking up trash alongside the road, but organizing work crews with job training ideas, that sort of thing. I don't know if that's still underway or not.
The homeless program isn't, but they also did some other things like where they fund part of their California Highway Patrol safety. They have a helicopter there. They fund that. They do fund roadside cleanup, which is done by Caltrans with it. And actually, I just have a note here, San Bernardino County at the end of last year in 2024 decided to remove the remainder of their call boxes as well. For the same reason, they have a much smaller system, but they're removing all their call boxes as well because it's just not sustainable going forward to continue paying.
thank you. Any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Director Boomgarden,
Aye.
Branscombe,
Aye.
Chapman, Clarici.
Aye.
Early,
Aye.
Jennings,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Rickman,
Yes.
Sander,
Aye.
Singh, absent Vice Chair Desmond,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haudashelt,
Aye.
Chair Lauren is absent. The motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Now, since we've passed item 3 with staff recommendation, we'll talk about item 4.
Yes. This would be approving a release of a request for proposals for the CVRA system call box removals, because if we're gonna do removals, we need to hire someone to do that. So we're asking that the committee and the board approve the release of a request for proposals for CVR safe system call box removals and authorize the executive director to negotiate a contract with a selected vendor to do that work. We do not need to use the same vendor we use for call box maintenance. It's a much simpler process where they would literally pull the call boxes off the side of the road or the trail side and then, neaten up those areas so they look like they were never there.
Okay. Yeah, I think Director Branscombe and Director Sander. Okay. Any other comments or questions from Director? Seeing none, any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Move the item, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion.
Early seconds.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Haudashelt and a second from Director Early. Please call the roll.
Director Boomgarden,
Aye.
Branscombe.
Aye.
Chapman.
Aye.
Clarici,
Aye.
Early,
Aye.
Jennings.
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Rickman,
Yes.
Sander,
Aye.
Singh absent Vice Chair Desmond,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haudashelt,
Aye.
and Chair Lauren is absent. Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 5.
Okay, one more, well, CVR safe item. Um, Yeah, this is, the one last item we have is to approve a one-year call box maintenance cooperative agreement with Nightscope Inc. Nightscope Inc. is our current call box maintenance provider. They are currently the only call box maintenance provider in the state of California. So we are asking the CVR Safe Committee and Board to recommend moving into a one-year call box maintenance cooperative purchasing agreement with Nightscope and delegate authority to the executive director to execute that agreement. We need to have this agreement because until we can get the call boxes removed, which has to be approved at the state level before we can go ahead with those removals, they have to be maintained and operational while they are on the roadside and trail side. I can answer any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, Rick.
You just said something that intrigues me now.
Mhm.
So the state of California has to approve what we just approved.
You all have to approve submitting the request to Caltrans and CHP oversee the SAFE program throughout the state
Right,
of
right, right,
California.
Right.
So before we get that approval, we can't really pull out any
Well, right,
large
okay.
number of call boxes.
I'm assuming that's ministerial. There's like nobody there gonna go, hey, wait, what?
Yeah, and likely not, we don't have any assumption they're gonna reject
Okay.
our request, but,
Here in force.
That's what I was thinking.
but it does take time to get
No,
that
I
request.
I understand time.
Can we
and
get a
state,
prediction?
But I'm just like,
There you go.
wow, okay, thank you.
Of course.
And if they don't approve it, they'd have to pay us for it to maintain them, right? So- Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on item 5? Any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay,
Move the item, Mr. Chair.
we have a motion and a second from Director Chapman. Please call the roll.
Director Boomgarden,
Aye.
Branscombe.
Aye.
Chapman. Clarici,
Aye.
Early,
Aye.
Jennings,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Rickman,
Yes.
Sander,
Aye.
Singh absent, Vice Chair Desmond,
Aye.
Vice Chair Howdashelt,
Aye.
Chair Lauren is absent, motion carries.
Okay, well, that concludes our business as a CVR Safe Committee, and I'm sure Director Rickman can join me in looking back wistfully to our days in the Highway Patrol, where call boxes were a vibrant means of communicating on the side of the road. Director Rickman, we are adjourned, and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. You guys have a good weekend.
You too. Okay, so we're adjourned as a CVR Safe Committee, and I will call us to order as the Safe Dog Transportation Committee, and please call the roll.
Thank you, good morning. Director Boomgarden,
Here.
Branscombe,
Present.
Chapman.
Aye.
Clarici,
I have three options. Present.
thank you. Early,
Here.
Jennings, Jones,
Here.
Sander,
Here.
Vice Chair Desmond,
Here.
Vice Chair Howdashelt,
Here.
Chair Lauren is absent, and ex officio member Aceves. Thank you, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. And you asked for the same disclosure as,
Yes, thank you. If there's any disclosures, directors can declare those now. Seeing none.
seeing none. Okay, then we'll move right to our consent item. To approve the minutes of the May 15th meeting.
Right, and Vice Chair Desmond, just to let you know, no public communications for this agenda.
Oh, sorry, thank you. We do it a little differently here. Any questions, comments? None? No public comment on the consent calendar? So I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move consent.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Director Boomgarden,
Aye.
Branscombe.
Aye.
Chapman.
Aye.
Clarici,
Aye.
Early,
Aye.
Jennings,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Sander,
Aye.
Vice Chair Desmond,
Aye.
Vice Chair Howdashelt,
Aye.
and Chair Lauren is absent. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. That'll take us to our one and only action item.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm still here. Barbara Von Bechtold. I'm a transportation planner here at SACOG as well. The item before you today is the approval of the fiscal year 24-25 regional program of projects for the Federal Transit Administration Section 5311 funds. Those funds are specifically for rural transit funding, and we've worked with our three eligible rural transit operators. That would be Sacramento County Transit Link, Yuba Sutter Transit, and YOLO Transportation District. We've worked with them to put together a program of projects for these funds, and it'll allow, actually Caltrans administers these funds throughout the state. It will allow Caltrans to then take all the projects that are submitted by those operators and other rural ones throughout the state to the Federal Transit Administration and apply for this fiscal years of funds so they can continue using these funds for operating and capital of their services in rural areas. So we're asking that the Transportation Committee recommend the board approve the resolution for the fiscal year 24-25 FTA Section 5311 program of projects.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Any questions or comments from directors? None? Any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
There's a
Oh,
waiting.
excuse me.
Oh, we do have a hand
Yes,
raised?
we do have a hand raised. Thank you. Shall I go ahead and allow him to talk?
Yes, please.
Glenn Mendelkern, you're in the meeting now. You have 3 minutes for public comment.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. So, my comment or question actually, this is about part 2 of your 5311 capital section here. You have a bullet here that says, all vehicles procured with section 5311 program funds must be ADA accessible regardless of service type. And here you specify, fixed route or demand response service. I was wondering because, last week we had a presentation that you gave on microtransit. I was wondering, when does a transit agent have to specify that they're going to use this for fixed route or microtransit, or if this is part of the process, just for a general knowledge based on what we learned last week? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Barbara, can you respond to that?
Sure, I can address that. It talks about fixed route or demand response bus service. Under the federal government, microtransit is under that bigger demand response umbrella. It includes anything where people can either get trips today, can have to call ahead 2 days, whatever kind of trip they're taking where they would either use an app or the phone to request that trip. So it's all under that bigger umbrella of those demand response bus services. So all of those services qualify for these 5311 funds.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our public comment. I'll bring it back to the board for motion.
I'll move it.
Early seconds.
Okay, we have a motion from Director Clarici, second from Director Early. Please call the roll.
Director Boomgarden,
Aye.
Branscombe.
Aye.
Chapman. Clarici.
Aye.
Early.
Aye.
Jennings. Jones.
Aye.
Sander.
Aye.
Vice Chair Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair Howdashelt.
Aye.
And Chair Lauren is absent. Motion carries.
Okay. Looks like the last item is receive and file with no presentation. That takes us to the end of the agenda. This is kind of anticlimactic after the CVR Safe meeting.
I know.
So this is unusual for a SACOG
Can I
meeting.
ask a question?
Chair Desmond, I mean, you could fill the
What did I miss
time
here?
between now and noon by talking about hosting the board meeting next week in your district in Sacramento.
Well, hold on,
County.
before he waxes poetic, I have a, can I ask? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
We had a carbon thing that was the receive and file. And a few folks have discussed this ad nausea, and I just wasn't around, or I wasn't back on the island when you did this. That's fine. Just tell me to stop. Have we discussed this stuff with CARB and the fuel mixture stuff? You know, this recent thing where they're they're tweaking the fuel again, and it allegedly could cost a lot of money.
The low carbon fuel standard.
Yeah,
We've discussed a lot of items with CARB, mostly the SB 375 greenhouse gas
Sure,
target
sure.
reduction. And that's actually been the board's sort of primary direction to us is to update SB 375 in the legislature. We can certainly bring an item back on either low carbon fuel or zero emission transition because we've got heavy and medium duty rule on the transition. So we could bring those items back to this committee if you all are interested.
well, who knows what everybody else is interested in, but, you know, I can remember before the Clean Air Act, I would visit my sister in LA and you couldn't see the end of the street downtown because the air quality in the summer was so awful and you were breathing that crap. And then the Clean Air Act's passed and lots of good things. It got let out of the gas, all sorts of good stuff happened. And you kind of got that first wave of that increment of air quality stuff. And you got like probably 80% of your benefit. And how much of this now is chasing that last little increment of benefit? And the only reason CARB does it is because they can. And at some point, we all ought to rear up. I mean, I personally, and I'm for the environment. Don't get me wrong. I like breathing clean air. Nobody, and I own an electric vehicle. So I'm a true believer. How long are we going to allow this stuff to happen across the street or wherever CARB lives, where they're just pushing this stuff and pushing this stuff? And even the EV transition thing. I mean, I love my EV truck. I would put it up against anything. But even I understand, even I understand that the transition is going to take longer than what's been mandated. And there are no electric buses worth a damn if you want to run them in the snow. And I just think we might want to have a position on that.
I think certainly this is not an agendized item.
It's not an agendized item, so,
But I mean, if there's interest from board members in getting, agendizing something like this and doing a workshop on it.
Yeah. I like that.
There is an interest in that. Or would it be incorporated potentially in another, could it be incorporated in another presentation
Sure.
or workshop we're doing in the future?
Happy to do that. And we had a very good board meeting last Thursday and a lunch for the SACOG board members who serve on transit agency boards. And we actually talked about governors may revise the threat to the SB 125 funds and the fact that the transit fleets have to go to zero emission. And there's a little bit of money which may now be clawed back, right? And at a certain point, we may have hit it already. We're actually threatening service by the cost of actually trying to make this transition to zero emission, right? So the two things are now in conflict. So we'd be happy to bring any of those issues back to the,
And an appropriate form, the lunchtime discussions are
Yeah.
are really good forums for
Yeah.
that kind of back and forth. I
Sure.
think,
Yep.
discussion.
I'm sorry I missed that one last week. I was in Sitka, Alaska.
Oh, well.
And I thought I would, but I didn't,
Hey.
so. Sorry.
Real quickly.
Yes,
I'd
Director Burns.
be interested, related to this, and without adding a new topic, I'd be interested in SACOG staff. You guys are closer to this than we are.
Mhm.
And it's obvious that most of what we do is governed by 375. It's putting everything in downtown and not many highways, what have you. So the political winds are changing, right? And they're putting pressure on California's position on a number of these things. Do you expect or foresee any change in policy at the state level, which governs, which sets much of the agenda that we operate under?
I'm going to ask council, can this isn't agendized. Can we, how far down this road do we want to go?
I think we
today?
probably should limit it to this discussion.
I'm asking for the future. I'm asking to get some input.
why don't we agendize something?
Why don't we agendize it to have the discussion? I think it's a great discussion to have, but I just I worry that if we get too much into this.
Okay.
And I gotta tell
Carl,
you what I'm most
how long
worried
will they
about.
last?
I'm
On the
most worried
agenda?
about Chair Desmond's record on the shortest
Yeah,
transportation
I
committee meeting
was
ever,
going to break the record.
which he was
but now
about
look,
to.
we're like
We have
5 minutes
we
and I
have
can't even.
a little trophy in the back.
Should have just
Never
gabbled
sit around.
down.
It's like
I
a
know.
no hitter. You don't talk.
I was going to regale everybody with the upcoming board meeting in my district, and I hope you're all there next week to get a nice tour of Arden Arcade and see some of the challenges, but the great things we're doing, of course, in partnership with SACOG. So,
You can adjourn the meeting and then talk about it.
yeah, I'm going to adjourn the meeting either way at, what time is it? 10:27.
No, they didn't have a Brown Act this year.
So what are we gonna see on the tour?
About your.
We're going to see